Good morning. Can you guys hear me? I can hear you. Good morning. My name is Donna Williams, and I am the chair of the Committee on Academic and Workforce. It is 9 p.m., July 26, 2003. Call to order the meeting of the Committee on Academic and Workforce. Please be aware that this meeting is being broadcast live via the internet. Before we begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome those joining us via video conference and ask that you observe the following etiquette. Please state your name before you speak. Mute your phone when you're not speaking. And please keep background noise to a minimum. Members, when I call your name, please announce presence. Donna Williams, here. Emma Schwartz, Vice Chair. Here. Richard Clemmer via Zoom. Fred Frias.
Here.
Ashley Thomas. Here. Daniel Wong.
Here.
Kate Sawyer.
Yes.
New student representative. Welcome, Kate and Ashley, to the committee. Please record in the minutes that we have quorum. Agenda item 2 is consideration and possible action to adopt the minutes for the April 26, 2023 committee meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the April 26, 2023 minutes of the Committee on Academic and Workforce Success? May I have a motion? So moved. Have a motion made by Ms. Schwartz. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Long. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 3 is public testimony on agenda items relating to the Committee on Academic and Workforce Success. We do not have anyone registered to testify, so we'll go on to the next item. Agenda item 4 is consideration and possible action to adopt the consent calendar. The consent calendar includes non-controversial items that we think will be approved without comment or discussion. This allows us to save time for other items that need more of our attention. Highlighted items in gray are the consent items on the agenda. Of course, any board member can request that an agenda item be added or removed to the consent calendar. The agenda item listed on the agenda items listed on the consent for this meeting are 5A, consideration and possible action to adopt the recommendation relating to the January 2023 annual compliance report for institutions under a certificate of authorizations with names beginning with A through O. Agenda item 5E, consideration and possible action to adopt the recommendation relating to funding appropriated to the Joint Admissions Medical Program for fiscal years 2024 through 2025. Agenda item 5F, report on activities of the Joint Admissions Medical Program. Agenda item 5G, consideration and possible action to adopt the report on the fiscal year 2023 annual review for autism grant program. Agenda item 5J, consideration and possible action to adopt the report on effectiveness of the Open Educational Resources Grant Program, General Appropriations Act, SB 187, Texas Legislature, regular session, Rider 49. Agenda item 5L, consideration and possible action to appoint members to the following advisory committees. Number 1 is the Academic Course Guide Manual Advisory Committee. Number 2 is the Applied Texas Advisory Committee. Number 3 is the Certification Advisory Council. Number 4 is Learning Technology Advisory Committee. And number 5 is the Texas Transfer Advisory Committee. Members, are there any items that anyone would like to add to the consent calendar? Are there any items that anyone would like to remove from the consent calendar? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of consent calendar? May I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Dr. Frias. May I have a second? I'll second. Second by Ms. Schwartz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5A was approved on consent. Agenda item 5B is consideration and possible action to adopt the recommendation relating to the expansion of recognition for the Association for Biblical Higher Education. Elizabeth Mayer, Assistant Commissioner for Academic and Health Affairs, will present this item and be available to answer questions. Ms. Mayer.
Good morning, everyone. Elizabeth Mayer, Assistant Commissioner for Academic and Health Affairs. Nice to see you all this morning. So Texas Administrative Code, Title 19, Part 1, Chapter 7 of Subchapter A, Section 7.6 allows the coordinating board to recognize accrediting agencies with a commitment to academic quality and student achievement. To be eligible, the accrediting agency must be recognized by the Secretary of Education of the United States, Department of Education as an accrediting agency authorized to accredit educational institutions that offer an associate's degree or higher. The accrediting agency must make an application for recognition. The Association for Biblical Higher Education, or ABHE, applied for recognition by the coordinating board and was granted recognition. The accreditor has been recognized by the coordinating board at least since July of 2008. At the time of recognition, the accreditor was recognized by the Secretary of Education of the United States Department of Education for undergraduate degrees. The coordinating board recognized Association for Biblical Higher Education at the same scope of recognition. As of 2022, the U.S. Department of Education expanded the accreditor's scope of recognition to the accreditation and pre-accreditation of institutions of biblical higher education in the United States, offering undergraduate certificates, associate degrees, baccalaureate degrees, graduate certificates, and master's degrees, including the accreditation of educational programs offered via distance education. The Association for Biblical Higher Education provided updated information on its scope of recognition and requested the coordinating board's expansion of its scope of recognition. So the expansion of the scope will serve two purposes. The first is that the coordinating board recognition will match the U.S. Department of Education's. And then the second is that the expansion will allow the accreditor to approve master's degrees at two Texas institutions, the Dallas Christian College and Arlington Baptist University, both which have pending requests to offer these programs. Coordinating board staff reviewed the information the accreditor provided, and it has no issues or complaints were found in regard to the Association for Biblical Higher Education accreditation of institutions of Texas. It is recommended that the board take action to approve the Association for Biblical Higher Education scope of recognition expansion to match that of the scope of the U.S. Department of Education. And that concludes my remarks.
Members, any questions for Ms. Mayer?
Yeah, I do. Is this association only in Texas or national?
National.
That's national, but do they have a Texas chapter or who's requesting? No?
Cameron's gonna come up. So there's two institutions in the state that currently have up to the associate's degree, but they're just wanting to expand its scope.
The basically this association is national association and they have members, I suppose, member institution.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Mears, the Director for Private Post-Secondary Institutions. ABHE accredits several institutions. I don't have the number right in front of me, but there are several Texas institutions that hold ABHE accreditation already. You do have two that would like to expand
Okay.
to offer master's degrees, and they can't do that until we have the expansion of recognition for ABHE.
Sorry, can you state your name again? And sit on
Yes.
the coordinating board just for those online?
Yes.
Thank you.
Kathy Mayert, I'm the Director of Private Post-Secondary Institutions.
Thank you.
So without our recognition, you still can accept those two, is it correct, in the past? Because you're accepting members anyway, in the past, is it correct?
They can approve Texas institutions at the undergraduate level. They
Uh-huh.
cannot approve them at the graduate level at this point until we would expand that recognition.
So that's what this request is, to expand the recognition to the graduate level.
So because I know a lot of Texas biblical higher education institution, are they all in this group or?
Are there multiple?
Sure, yes. There are multiple accrediting agencies.
I see.
Yeah.
You are one of them?
That ABHE is one of
One
them.
of, okay,
Yes.
I'm aware. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Any additional questions? If not, do I have a motion to adopt the recommendation relating to the expansion of the recognition for the Association for Biblical Higher Education?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Wong. May I have a second? I'll second. And a second by Ms. Schwartz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 5C is consideration and possible action to adopt the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee's recommendation relating to the distribution of funds trusted to the coordinating board to support family practice residency programs for fiscal year 2024. Dr. Michael Reagan, Chair of the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee, will present this item and be available to answer questions. Elizabeth Mayer is also available to answer questions. Dr. Reagan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to be with you. You guys were enjoying the same part weather we are in Lubbock. It is summertime. So I'm excited to present the report. The committee met and discovered that the legislature was very generous this year. The appropriation was increased substantially. And that was a great relief for the committee members and also for the departments across the state. I think the increase was 74%. And it was a real needed shot in the arm financially. If you look at the programs, financial is the number one concern they have. So we're very excited. The appropriation per fiscal year is $8.25 million. And that is awarded across 3 different types of programs. The bulk of the award goes to each program. There are 36 programs that are in the program, in the funding program. And we have just over 1,000 residents. So the per resident amount is $7,772 recommended to you. That would be the bulk of the operational grant at $8 million. There are 2 other broad areas where funding is recommended. The first is in rotations, both rural and public health. These are important because they help residents find what it's like to practice in a rural area. And often much of the training in medical education is in a big city. We like to get them out to the rural areas if we can. There are expected to be 40 of those at $2,500 each for a total of $100,000. And then 3 public health rotations. And public health is important. We all know the pandemic was a big challenge and it uncovered some problems with public health. And so we're also trying to get residents involved in public health works. And so there are 3 rotations at $2,000 each. So the total for that area is $106,000 recommended to you. And then lastly, the Faculty Development Center, which is an important organization that helps prepare faculty for these programs across the state, is recommended to be funded at $100,000. So the total expected estimated appropriation recommended to you is $8.25 million across those programs. And I'm happy to answer questions about that recommendation if you would like.
I'd like to comment, Dr. Reagan, thank you for your leadership over the years as chairman, and thanks the committee for that hard work. I actually read through all your recommendations and your minutes of your meetings last year. Very extensive work, so thank you and the committee. It's great, thanks to the legislature, to be able to expand that and to cover our state. And you brought up the rural areas for the family practice residence programs, which are much needed. So I think that's great work by your committee and the legislature. I'd like to commend them for doing that. That's going to really be great for our citizens. That's going to be great for our citizens to have those residencies and family practice residents to be able to go and do family practice, right?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Can I make that comment? Sure. Yeah, just real quick, there was a study done a couple of years back, that by 2030, I think the state will be 6,000 physicians, family practice physicians short. If we don't get going, and so thank you to the legislature going, because, you know, the challenges in the rural areas, a lot of doctors go into specialization, but family practice, so this really helps encourage. And you have to create the residencies in the state, so that medical students will stay in the state and have an opportunity to stay and not have to leave the state.
That is absolutely true. You know, if you train outside of the state, the likelihood is you're going to stay where you train. And so having those positions is very important. We're excited to see the growth in those programs as well. It's very important, I think.
Well, thank you and your committee for all that work.
Yes, sir.
Reggie,
Any additional questions?
I've got one more actually. I heard you say Lubbock, I apologize, I didn't catch your bio. Are you a private physician out there or are you with Texas Tech?
So I'm with Texas Tech. I'm a family physician and a faculty member at Texas Tech.
Okay, because you guys have the 3-year rural program, right? Where you can take a year off of the rural clinicians.
So it's for it's open to family physicians, not specifically rural, though many end up in rural areas. And what it does is shortens the 4-year medical degree down to 3 years. We call it the family medicine accelerated track. And so it knocks a year off of the training, saves the learner, the resident, the student a year's worth of tuition. They get into practice a year earlier. And so it's really proven to be very effective. We've studied that extensively. Pass rates are high. The retention in rural areas and in Texas is high. And so it's a great program. Thanks for bringing that up.
So is that just a Texas Tech thing or are there other medical schools in Texas going to that route? Because I know probably by happenstance, most of my friends were pre-medical students in medical school now. And I mean, I know probably 5 or 6 people personally that chose Texas Tech because of that route.
Texas Tech was early on the scene. Now there are a number of schools across the country that are moving that direction. And it's working very well. So I think you'll see more schools adopting that mode.
You brought up the point about the board score, so I'm really into that part of it. Graduation is great, but getting your license and practicing your profession is the ultimate goal, obviously. So there's no issues with people, you know, accelerating a year in terms of, I mean, I haven't looked at the data, but I don't think it's an issue, otherwise it would have brought to my attention by now.
So I'll let you know a little secret. It's a very attractive program. People like it. It saves a year's worth of tuition. They get into practice a year earlier. So they know they want to do family medicine. You recruit the best. So when you put the best in the program, they come out very well. And so no, there have been no issues with the score rates. They've done very well. And as I say, we track those folks and they've stayed in Texas. Those that have gone to rural areas have stayed in rural areas. And so really proud of that program. It's a great program.
Now, this board has had made decisions since I've been on the board on a specific medical schools, addressing the rural issues of family practice and physicians in rural areas. And there are many proposals and folks that come to us say that that's the goal. And so one of the things I've talked to the commissioner about, and one of the things I think this board needs to do, and one of the things I'm passionate about is going back and seeing how people perform. And I visited recently one of the newer medical schools that has done really well. You know, there was questions about it by this board in the past, but I think, you know, meeting those goals, saying one thing, but then doing it is another thing. That's why I asked about that specifically. And, you know, the students, we talked earlier about investment in student debt and all. You know, I would argue, and I know the fact that medical students and law students and professional students come in with the highest debt. But then those folks also have job opportunities. So that's the good thing about it. But we appreciate you also looking into that as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Additional comments? If not, do I have a motion to adopt the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee's recommendation relating to the distribution of funds trusted to the coordinating board to support family practice residency programs for fiscal year 2024? I'll move. And the motion made by Ms. Schwartz. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Chris. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 5D is a report on activities of the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee, including the report on trustee funds distributed in fiscal year 2023. Dr. Reagan will present this item and be available to answer questions.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm representing our 12-member committee, my co-chair, Fred Unger, able leader as well. It's a great group, and we take seriously the work of these funds flowing out to programs. I think that when you're a program director, that is your number one concern is the finances, and so these funds are very helpful for those programs. Many programs like to place graduates in rural areas, and so the rural program is supportive as well. And then many faculty in the state of Texas were trained by the Faculty Development Center, and so the programs we're proud of, they do a great job, and our group is well represented. We do review both written reports and financial reports every year. The program directors are tasked with completing those. The written reports are really looking at what innovative programs they may have in their residencies. And I'll tell you that I really enjoy reviewing the written reports. 36 of them, so it takes a little bit of time to get through it. But you see what great work these programs are doing across the state. Not only are they training workforce for us in Texas, but they're also impacting their communities. Many of them operate in underserved communities, providing care. A number of them are actually also federally qualified health centers, providing safety net type care across the communities. And the innovations are incredible. We are really tasked, as much as you were talking earlier about social determinants impacting education, the same is true in healthcare. And a number of the programs have innovative programs to address those, such as pantries for food for their patients, clothing closets, those kind of things. One program has a street medicine program where they go into the community and take care of homeless on the street. And so very interesting to read those and excited about those innovations. The financial reports, Dr. Unger leads the review of those, and we're looking there about viability of the programs, and the increased appropriations will be very helpful in that regard. Very excited about that, as I mentioned earlier. We also heard about a new program that will be eligible, and so the committee every year looks at programs that have newly established. Of course, that's important, as we talked about before, growing the workforce is important. And we saw one program that was new and met eligibility to be added to the role, so they'll be a part of the program this next year. You have to show viability for 3 years, and then you can come on the program. And so excited to add that program. And then the appropriations that we recommended to you all, thank you for that work. We are excited about that very much. And so I am very pleased to be here to represent the committee, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Any questions? Members, this item is for information only. Agenda item 5E through 5G were approved on consent. Agenda item 5H is a report on activities of the Learning Technology Advisory Committee. Dr. Patrick Bush, chair of the Learning Technology Advisory Committee, will present this item and be available to answer questions. Members, this item is informational only as well.
Good morning, Chair Williams and Vice Chair Sports and committee members. The Learning Technology Advisory Committee is a long-standing advisory committee that engages in substantive policy research and discussion regarding the role that learning technology plays in Texas higher education. LTAC also reviewed past tense institutional proposals for doctoral proposals offered via distance education until the adoption of new Texas Administrative Code rules in May of 2023. LTAC informs the coordinating board on how distance education, computer-assisted instruction, including e-learning tools such as electronic textbooks and open course materials, can help the state reach the goals of building a talent-strong Texas. LTEC held 4 hybrid meetings since the last annual report and recommended approval of 2 distance education doctoral programs, one from Angelo State University, another from Tarleton State University. Both programs were ultimately approved by the coordinating board. LTEC also examined a variety of topics during the past year pertaining to distance education and learning technology, including recommended revisions to Texas Administrative Code that were approved by the coordinating board at the April 2023 quarterly meeting. These recommendations involved updated definitions for distance education courses and programs that considered student needs as well as alignment to accreditor requirements. The new rules also require regular assessment of distance education at institutions based on the standards and criteria listed in the Principles of Good Practice, or PGP. The PGP document will be updated every 3 years and is presented to the coordinating board for approval. A subcommittee of LTEC is currently working to revise the PGP, and it should be presented to the coordinating board for approval at the next quarterly meeting prior to the new Texas Administrative Code rules going to effect in December. LTEC has historically worked to survey Texas institutions on digital education and learning technologies in order to understand the landscape of support provided to students. This year, LTEC launched a more inclusive digital infrastructure landscape survey with the aim of gaining a comprehensive overview of the digital infrastructure supporting campuses. So not related exclusively to teaching, learning, collaboration, but including other areas of digital infrastructure as well. Findings from that survey will guide the strategic design of a shared digital space that will facilitate collaboration between and among institutions with similar structures, promote valuable sharing of experiences and digital resources, and leverage institutional expertise to strengthen community efforts across the state. LTEC also provides recommendations to coordinating board staff on issues of digital learning practices at institutions, open educational resources, and new instructional innovation activity such as AI, artificial intelligence, and persisting institutional matters related to the COVID-19 pandemic. LTEC will continue to raise the bar of digital excellence across the state with your support as we together build digital experiences that prepare our students to be successful globally competitive citizens when they leave our institutions. In closing, I'd like to recognize the institutional representatives who serve on LTEC and the coordinating board leadership and staff with whom I have the privilege of serving. I've served on LTEC and the committee that preceded it for roughly 15 years. And Commissioner Keller's creation of the Division of Digital Learning within the first year of coming on board and under the leadership of Dr. Michelle Singh and the contributions of the wonderful and hardworking team that she's assembled have accelerated progress in the digital learning space statewide and provided a guiding light as we navigate beyond the pandemic to a bright future for educating Texans. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
I did want to make a comment, just to say thank you, Patrick and his colleagues, that the LTAC is a really critical thought partner with the coordinating board as we're trying to figure out how we can better support the institutions and how we can help amplify the impact of some of the innovative efforts on the campuses. LTAC is a critical partner in this way, and so that's been very important, especially now as we're working with the institutions on how we can better support sharing on courses across the institutions, how we can think about standing at the center for shared services to help institutions reduce their operational costs. And Patrick and his colleagues put a lot of their time into work partnership. So I did just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I want to echo that too, Patrick, to you and the committee, Commissioner. I think you're right on the line because we see the hard work that y'all do and appreciate that. For the new members, you're going to hear these acronyms, LTAC, CAWS. So don't worry, it takes a while to get all that down, but there's a lot to that. But thank you, by the way, again, appreciate the work and the feedback and the information that we get, the agency, the commissioner, and the team on what's really happening on the ground with the institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Agenda item 5I is consideration and possible action to approve the request to extend the current contract with the Institution for the Study of Knowledge Management in Education for up to 6 months to continue maintenance and support of the Vortex, and I believe that's Open Educational Resource Texas platform. Dr. Michelle Singh, Assistant Commissioner for Digital Learning will present this item and be available to answer questions. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Williams, Vice Chair Schwartz, and members of the committee. I am Michelle Singh, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Assistant Commissioner for the Division of Digital Learning. House Bill 3652 of the 86th Texas Legislature required the coordinating board to contract with a high-quality open education resource repository to develop and maintain a web portal that was customized to meet the needs of institutions of higher education, students, and others who may benefit from access to OER. In March 2020, the coordinating board contracted with the Institute for the Study of Knowledge Management and Education, or ISKME, the organization that built and maintains one of the largest OER repositories in the world, OER Commons. The OER Texas repository was created in partnership with the THEC staff, ISKME, and stakeholders across Texas. ISKME continues to host and maintain OER Texas since the site launched in September of 2020. From 2020 to 2023, the coordinating board's original contract with ISKME allowed for renewal annually for up to 3 years. The current contract is set to expire on August 31st, 2023. House Bill 1 of the most recent 88th Texas Legislature appropriated funding for continued maintenance, support, and expansion of the OER Texas repository. The coordinating board will soon issue a request for offers, or RFO, to solicit bids for continued operation of OER Texas in line with state procurement guidelines. The approval of the current request will allow ISKME to continue hosting and supporting the OER Texas repository under the current contract for up to an additional 6 months. This will avoid any potential interruption in services for the over 500,000 users of OER Texas while the RFO process is underway. The staff recommendation is for approval, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? I have one. How long does the contract go? So we'll take 6 months to advertise it, recompete and all of that. What will be the term of the next contract?
Currently, we have a 3-year contract, and we're hoping to continue that, but we have to consult with legal and make sure that we're following all procurement guidelines for that term.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none.
I'm sure, I just want to just highlight the number of sources. So OER Texas is the repository for the free open educational resources that we provide, but it's also, we also have hubs for other initiatives. So we have, for example, developed a repository inventory of the major student success practices across campuses. So that's where we're curating profiles of like what are the major efforts that campuses are deploying to help improve student success in different areas. It's also, as we sponsor different kind of digital learning projects, the way the platform is set up, it helps facilitate collaboration across institutions on developing new resources. So this is an important resource for our Office of Digital Learning, and you'll hear about a few of the initiatives that come back to resources you'll find in OER Texas.
Anyone else? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the request to extend the current contract with the Institution for the Study of Knowledge Management in Education for up to 6 months to continue maintenance and support of the OER Texas platform? Do I have a motion? So a motion by Ms. Schwartz. May I have a second? Second. Second by Ms. Thomas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 5J was approved on consent. Agenda item 5K is consideration and possible action to approve the request to add up to $450,000. I have 45 million. No, it's 450,000 to exceed the contract with the Applied Texas System vendor. Laura Brennan, Assistant Commissioner for College and Career Advising, will present this item and be available to answer questions.
Definitely not 45. Good morning, committee members. My name is Laura Brennan, and I'm Assistant Commissioner for College and Career Advising. Nice to see all of you. The coordinating board staff requests approval to award up to $450,000 to extend the current contract with Deloitte Consulting and continue development of Apply Texas through September 30th, 2024. The current contract expires September 30th, 2023. This is the first request for extension and second amendment of this contract. The first amendment for $315,000 updated the project timeline and initiated the development of a content management system. Apply Texas is a centralized web portal for prospective students to apply for admission to Texas higher ed institutions. The tagline, "Many schools, one application," says it all. Through the Apply Texas platform, students can more easily apply to several Texas schools with one application. And secondary counselors can monitor progress through the Apply Texas Counselor Suite. The coordinating board administers the Apply Texas system in consultation with an advisory committee comprised of representatives of higher ed institutions. On January 5th, 2023, the coordinating board contracted with Deloitte Consulting to improve the Apply Texas system. Through human-centered design, the team aims to increase efficiencies for students, high schools, and higher ed, and increase overall application volumes, especially with populations who are traditionally underserved. To ensure a smooth launch in May of 2024, the coordinating board recommends extending vendor support through September 30th, 2024. The additional funds and timeline will ensure that all stakeholders using the new system receive high-quality support through the critical launch period. During this time, the vendor will also complete the build of a content management system and transcript integration. Overall, we are incredibly excited to bring this new improved application system to the state that will serve as a model for common applications nationally. That concludes my remarks, and I'm available for any questions.
Question on the content management system. So to understand that, that would allow coordinating board staff to make minor modifications.
Yes, much more easily. Yes.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the request to add up to $450,000 and extend the current contract with the Apply Texas system vendor, Deloitte Consulting LLP? May I have a motion? May I have a motion by Ms. Thomas? May I have a second?
Second, Ashley.
Mr. Wong? Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5L 1 through 5 were approved on consent. Agenda item 5M is lunch. Nope. We're gonna keep it going. Agenda item 5N is the request for new programs. Members, representatives of each institution will be available to answer questions tomorrow at tomorrow's quarterly board meeting. Removing the requirement for them to attend both the committee meeting and the board meeting will reduce travel time and cost for the institutions. Agenda item 5N1 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from Alamo District Palo Alto College for a Bachelor's of Applied Technology in Operations Management. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer questions. Ms. Mayer?
Good morning, Elizabeth Mayer, Assistant Commissioner for Academic and Health Affairs. So the Alamo District Palo Alto College is seeking approval to offer a Bachelor of Applied Technology or a BAT degree program in Operations Management. This would be the institution's first bachelor's program. The proposed program would require 120 credit hours and would begin in spring of 2024. The proposed program would be offered online and in person in San Antonio. The proposed program would appeal to individuals pursuing managerial roles within a variety of industries, including information technology, human resources, construction, and healthcare. Workforce data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Texas Workforce Commission show above average growth for leadership and management positions in these industries. Through 2030, the TWC anticipates a 22% increase in job openings across all industries in the Alamo workforce development area and above average of 27% growth for management positions. In accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, the institution will hire 5 core faculty members. 1 core faculty member will be hired to start each fall semester for the first 5 years of the program. And that concludes my remarks.
Questions or comments?
So the new board members, so this committee is reviewing all this recommendations from the staff. And this committee will vote on moving it forward to the board. The board will make the formal vote for the programs. Just so you all know how.
And to get to this level, any requesting for a program has gone through a rigorous discussion with staff at different levels over multiple months,
Yes.
years. So to get to this level, it's been pretty much vetted
Yes. Yes, and we.
thoroughly, so.
And again, we want to work with the institutions and, Mr. Wilson asked me, well, it seems like certain schools do have a lot. But, we welcome to review all proposals, whether it's PhD program, master's program, doctorate program, graduate, undergraduate program. So we want to be very open and help the institutions as they make their plans and what programs in professional schools and whatever they like to do, or if there's a new program they want to do, a new school that comes before the staff. And it literally takes years in most cases to get to this point to the committee, and then the committee makes a recommendation to the full board tomorrow.
And really just one more comment that at the full board, our task is to make sure that we're not approving programs that compete against existing public programs. So we don't want to have public dollars competing against public dollars where there is not a need. And so that's really, kind of a criteria that's looked at to make sure we're not just duplicating efforts in a certain sub-market that doesn't have the demand.
I do have a general question, not this particular case. Do we have a minimum requirement for a bachelor degree in terms of semester hours?
It's 120 typically.
So that one.
Yeah, so typically, it is 120. There are some accreditors like engineering that have more curriculum that can't fit into the 120. So you'll see sometimes those are about 126. But in the state, typically, some years ago, there was an understanding, particularly to minimize student debt. I believe it's 120 unless they provide some kind of justification, such as an accreditor like the AED.
So it's the set by the state. So all institutions, including technical college and community college,
For bachelor.
abide by that in order to get a bachelor degree.
Yes, unless you provide a justification.
Very clear. Okay.
Any additional comments or questions? One last thing in your homework, and I know you guys have read all the homework, but there's a breakdown on where the institution is relative to where other institutions are in the state that actually provide this type of program. And on several occasions, we have programs where it's the first in Texas. So
I think there's
there's a map. There's a map, and it also includes the funding, how much the program will cost and for how long. So when you have a chance to take a look at that, you'll find all that information there. So there is an abundance of information for you. So if you choose to partake. No additional comments. Do I have a motion to approve the request from Alamo District Palo Alto College for a bachelor's of applied technology in operations and management? Moved by Ms. Schwartz. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Wong. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5N2 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from Tarleton State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Animal and Natural Resource Sciences. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available for questions as well.
This is another first. So this is the program would be the first of its kind in the nation. So Tarleton State University is proposing a Doctor of Philosophy degree program in Animal and Natural Resource Sciences. The program would be offered face-to-face on the Tarleton King campus in Stephenville, starting in fall of 2024. The program would only admit students who have a related Master of Science degree, and it would require 50 semester credit hours of all students. Existing programs in Texas and the US are typically in animal science, range science, wildlife ecology, wildlife conservation biology, or similar programs, although none feature a combination of both food production, agriculture, and conservation as the focus of the program. So the program would build upon Tarleton State's MS programs in animal science, agriculture, natural resources, environmental science, agriculture and consumer resources, and biology. As you can imagine, workforce needs are somewhat difficult to assess because this is an interdisciplinary program, and individual students can follow several different career trajectories depending on their research topics and professional interests. In Texas, a heavily agricultural state, the workforce demand appears strong. There are 224 average annual openings projected by the Texas Workforce Commission, which is closer to the 302 master's and doctoral graduates in various related disciplines. A search for just 1 month in January through February on the Texas A&M Wildlife Job Board did find 94 positions in the field requiring a PhD. So in accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, Tarleton will hire 1 new tenured track faculty member in year 2. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, members. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the request from Tarleton State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Animal and Natural Resource Sciences?
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Mr. Wong. May I have a second? Second by Ms. Thomas. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5N3 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from Texas A&M University for a Bachelor's of Arts and a Bachelor's of Science in Journalism. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer questions.
Texas A&M University is seeking approval to offer a Bachelor of Science degree and a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism. The proposed program would require 120 semester credit hours and would begin in the fall of 2023. The proposed programs would be offered in person to students in College Station. The writing, research, and communication skills students develop in undergraduate journalism programs lead to many career opportunities outside of print media and television news, including careers in digital media, communications, and marketing. The programs would offer internships, including a unique opportunity to assist with live broadcasts and develop content for ESPN SEC network productions. Students would develop skill sets that lead to jobs in a variety of industries. Students may also choose to pursue graduate education in these fields. CMU offers several programs and minors through its Department of Communication and Journalism, including a journalism concentration within the Bachelor's of Arts in University Studies and a minor in journalism. In addition, the department cross-lists a variety of communication courses with journalism courses. Time and effort from faculty teaching the existing courses will be reallocated to the proposed program. The institution has committed to hiring new faculty to augment current journalism faculty. The university plans to hire 5 new tenure track journalism faculty, with 3 new hires made in the first year of the program, 1 hire in year 4, and 1 hire in year 5. Based upon the faculty that's currently in place and also the faculty plan to hire for the program, they meet requirements for the goals. And that concludes my remarks.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the request from Texas A&M University for a Bachelor's of Arts and a Bachelor's of Science in Journalism? Motion by Ms. Thomas. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Wong. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5N4 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from the University of Texas at Austin for a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing degree to Doctor of Nursing Practice degree in Nurse Practitioner. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer questions.
The University of Texas at Austin is seeking approval to offer a formula-funded post-baccalaureate Doctor of Nursing practice or DNP degree option. In July of 2015, the board approved a request for the institution to offer a postmaster's DNP program. Approval was given with the understanding that the DNP program would be a self-supporting program, relying on student tuition and fees for funding. The self-supported program is designed for advanced practice registered nurses, or APRNs, who are working full-time while seeking a terminal degree. The new degree option would provide a streamlined pathway for baccalaureate prepared registered nurses to earn the DNP while simultaneously acquiring the education needed for the APRN certification. The formula-funded post-baccalaureate DNP track would comprise approximately 72 to 75 semester credit hours, about 20 hours fewer and 1 year shorter than earning the Master of Science in Nursing and the DNP degree separately. Students enrolled in the formula-funded post-baccalaureate DNP option would be carefully tracked to ensure allocations using formula funding are accurate. DNP students would be enrolled by the program administrator in different course sections than the formula-funded students, allowing UT Austin to carefully track the populations. And that concludes my remarks.
Any questions or comments? I see the wheels turning.
But Mr. Wilson asked me a question about that, but the formula funding is the difference, so.
It's a difference. All right, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the request from the University of Texas at Austin for a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing degree to Doctor of Nursing practice degree in nurse practitioner? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Frias. May I have a second? I'll second. Second by Ms. Schwartz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 5N5 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from the University of Texas at Tyler for a Master's of Science in Speech Language Pathology. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item. If you're able to answer questions.
The University of Texas at Tyler is seeking approval to offer a Master of Science in Speech Language Pathology. The proposed program would require 54 semester credit hours and would begin in the fall of 2024. The proposed program would be offered in person to students in Tyler. The job outlook for speech language pathologists is promising. The Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Texas Workforce Commission expect the field will experience above average growth through 2030. Speech language pathology programs are accredited by the Council on Academic Accreditation in Audiology and Speech Language Pathology. There are currently 19 institutions in Texas offering the accredited master's degree for speech language pathology. In 2021, the existing programs combined produced 810 graduates, far fewer than the graduates actually needed to fulfill the projected 1,605 annual job vacancies in the state. The institution plans to hire 2 full-time tenure track faculty. 1 faculty member will be hired in year 3 and another will be hired in year 4. The institution has actually already started the process of seeking accreditation for its speech language pathology degree program from the accreditor. That concludes my remarks.
Any questions or comments?
I do have a general question. Very general question about the master program. So when we look at the program Master of Science and look at the, they provide all the semester hour in terms of master's courses. And do we have any requirement in terms of if the Master of Science require dissertation or
It depends on
research, or it depends on the degree and so.
It depends on the degree and kind of what the outcomes of the faculty are expecting, and also is there an accreditor? Like in this case, it's not
There's
like,
no accreditation, though. They haven't been accredited.
not yet, but there's typically similar to engineering, I think. Like
So you're
there's-
based on accreditation
Yes,
requirement.
yes, that's typically how the institution will design the
So it's not
program.
a very strict, requirement for that.
But not as much. It usually depends on the type of program, and it can vary, and if there's an accreditor or not.
Okay, thank you.
How long does it take to get accredited?
It usually varies by the accrediting agency. For this one, I'm not sure. I think it usually takes a couple of years. I think for most accreditors, you actually have to do your first graduating class before you're completely accredited. So you can be in like candidacy status, you submitted your materials, but till you get that first cohort complete, into graduation, you don't typically get full accreditation.
All right, any additional questions, comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the request from the University of Texas at Tyler for a Master's of Science in Speech Language Pathology? A motion by Ms. Schwartz, may I have a second?
Second.
And by Ms. Thomas, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Agenda item 5N6 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston for a Master's of Science in Anesthesia. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer questions.
The University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston is proposing a Master of Science in Anesthesia degree program in anesthesia. The proposed program would be the first Master of Science in Anesthesia program at a public institution in Texas. There are existing master's programs at the Houston campus of Case Western Reserve University and at Texas Wesleyan University. This particular program will require 99 semester credit hours, the minimum required by the Commission on Accreditation of Allied Health Education Programs for accreditation, designed to be completed in 24 to 48 months. So the Master of Science in Anesthesia programs, such as the one proposed by the institution, are a relatively new option for students to pursue another path to the degree without becoming a registered nurse and enrolling in the full doctor of nursing practice program. So the job outlook for the anesthesiology assistant is somewhat difficult to assess. AAs and certified registered nurse anesthetists filled similar roles as non-physician members. However, unlike the doctor of prepared CRNA, who are nationally certified, the anesthesiology assistant's certification is only recognized in about 20 states. I did want to share that, however, the UNT Health Science Houston DNP Nurse Anesthetist Program, and the Case Western University Master of Anesthesia Program, both in Houston, each report 100% job placement of their graduates over the last 5 years. The proposed program would seek accreditation from the Commission on Accreditation of Allied Health Education Programs. In accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, the institution will hire 3 core faculty members by the 5th year of the program. And that concludes my remarks.
Comments, questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, so I have a question. So UT Health Science Center, is this affiliated with McGovern School of Medicine?
I don't know offhand. I have to go back and look and see if it's actually in the,
Okay.
is your question about, sorry, I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking. If the program is in a medical school?
Yes, well, and that's the question, is proposal coming from you, McGovern, at school in Houston, or just the Health Science Center?
I think it's just coming from the health science center. Okay. I got a thumbs up from my person, so yes.
That was a yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So this degree would allow them to be either the CAA or CRNA.
No, this is only an AA. So this is only an anesthesia assistant, and so they have to work under an anesthesiologist. And then the other is a CRNA, a certified registered nurse anesthetist. And that degree just takes longer.
Supports those.
The CRNA can do more autonomous work than the anesthesia assistant. But they're just different pathways. Like, you go into the CRNA program, you have to be a registered nurse, and this is giving individuals who may not be an RN an option to go through a healthcare workforce. It's a different path.
Can this build towards that? When you can start looking into AA and then build your CRNA, or you still have to go through the RN and then?
I think that depends on the institution, and I have to check with the institution to see. I did talk to one of my colleagues this morning, and she was saying that she had done some research and had seen that some of the AAs, some folks go through those and then actually go on to medical school. Yeah.
Yeah, institution representatives will be here to talk. Yeah.
So, yeah,
And the
so we'll get
institution
into detail
has
on this. This is a very complex.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and those are good questions, comments, but I think we'll get a lot more details on this tomorrow.
Yes, because the institution has the DNP in their office as well. They would have those.
Any additional comments or questions? Do I have a motion to approve the request from the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston for a Master's of Science in Anesthesia?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Long. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Schwartz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5N7 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston for a Doctor of Clinical Nutrition in Clinical Nutrition. Elizabeth Mayo will present this item and be available to answer questions.
The University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston is seeking to approval for a Doctor of Clinical Nutrition, or a DCN, degree program in clinical nutrition. The proposed program would be another first DCN program in Texas. The DCN is distinct from a PhD degree in nutrition science, whereas the PhD is considered an academic research-based degree. The DCN aims to prepare students for advanced clinical skills and leadership in public health settings. The proposed program would require 48 semester credit hours beyond a master's degree. The program would be offered 100% online to accommodate working students who are expecting to remain employed while they are enrolled. As a professional program, no student assistance is planned to be offered, and the program will be self-supporting by tuition, and no formula funding is requested. Registered dietitians can establish private practices, but there are several other venues where they are also needed, including hospitals, clinicals, physician offices, nursing homes, restaurant headquarters, food production industries, public health agencies, and in the military. Graduates may also find employment as educators, researchers, consultants, public servants, administrators, or managers. Projections show 5,600 average annual job openings nationwide and 106 average openings in Texas. However, projections do not necessarily include all the relevant leadership and public health positions for which a DCN graduate would be well suited. In accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, the institution will hire 2 new tenure track faculty members in the first year of the program and 3 additional faculty in the second year. And that concludes my remarks.
Members, any questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the request from the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston for a Doctor of Clinical Nutrition? May I have a motion? A motion by Ms. Schwartz. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Thomas. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5N8 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley for a Doctor of Philosophy in Materials Science and Engineering. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item as well.
The University of Texas Rio Grande Valley is seeking approval for a Doctor of Philosophy degree program in Material Science and Engineering. The proposed program would require 54 semester credit hours beyond a master's degree or 75 semester credit hours beyond a bachelor's degree. The program would be offered face-to-face at the UTRGV campuses, primarily in Edinburgh, where most material science and engineering labs are located, starting in the fall of 2023. The job market for material science and engineering graduates is strong. The BLS, or Bureau of Labor Statistics, projects an average of 1,920 new openings each year. These new positions each year are slightly below the 2,209 MS and PhD degrees awarded in 2021, but close enough to assume that replacement and academic positions would make up the difference. And Indeed, Search found that 242 job postings in Texas for material engineers on a single day in 2021. The program would be the first in Texas to emphasize nanofibers, giving graduates an advantage in multiple industries and academic contexts. The proposed program would build on the material science track that already exists at the institution for the MS program in mechanical engineering and it would be the first doctoral program at UTRG's College of Engineering and Computer Sciences. In accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, the institution will hire one new tenure track faculty member to start in year 2. That concludes my remarks.
Members, any questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the request from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley for a Doctor of Philosophy in Materials Science and Engineering? May I have a motion by Dr. Pierce? May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Wong. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5E and 9 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from the University of North Texas for a Doctor of Philosophy in Human Performance and Movement Science. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item as well.
The University of North Texas is seeking approval to offer a Doctor of Philosophy degree program in Human Performance and Movement Science. This program is focused on exercise physiology and is rooted in scientific and academic study, while kinesiology and exercise science include more application and practice-based components. There are only 2 doctoral programs in exercise physiology in Texas, at Baylor University and at Texas Tech University. These programs are both new and have yet to produce any graduates. The proposed program would require 54 semester credit hours beyond a master's degree and 90 beyond the bachelor's degree, and would begin in the fall of 23. The proposed program would be offered in person to students in Denton. Workforce opportunities for graduates of the proposed program include post-secondary teaching and exercise physiology positions. The Bureau of Labor projects above average growth for exercise physiologists with an anticipated 9% increase from 2021 to 2031. In Texas, workforce projections are also above average with an anticipated 24% increase in available jobs through 2030. The overall job outlook for post-secondary educators is positive. The BLS and Workforce Commission predict an increased need for exercise physiology faculty over the next 10 years. The institution will hire 6 faculty, 2 will be hired prior to program implementation and 4 hired in year 1. That concludes my remarks.
Questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve the request from the University of North Texas for a Doctor of Philosophy in Human Performance and Movement Science? May I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Schwartz and a second by Ms. Thomas. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 6 is adjournment. If there's no further discussion, may I have a motion to adjourn? Motion made by
Motion to adjourn.
Wong and second by Dr. Bruce. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. We'll now take a short break. Actually, I think lunch has arrived. So we can now move into lunch, and then when we come back, they'll set up for the agency operation committee meeting.
So because I ran over, Mary said I had to stay after class. Would you answer these?
Yes, I got you.
Lunchtime.
Lunchtime.